Talk Radio and Warchant TV. It's good to be with you on a Redemption Thursday. This recorded really just before we would normally go on the air, and for good reason. We had to do this last week. We have to do it again this week. Both are out of our control. There is work being done at the home office, if you will. The studios, new soundproof walls, soon to be, all that good stuff being put in on Thursday and Friday. So you'll get this each of these 2 days. Enough about that. Onward with the show. Doesn't change anything. We'll still be good, or kind of. At least we hope so. It is Redemption Thursday. The picks, they are in my hands. Let's get to them. All right. We're getting slim pickings. You know, it's harder to find the better games right now because a lot of teams are playing patsies the week before they play their rival in many cases. And I think that it just gets tougher and tougher to really seek out the best lines if you're just going straight lines instead of totals or halves and things of that ilk. But I think we're good. TCU minus 2.5 against Baylor. What happened to our thingy, Tom?
It's coming back up. The UConn line says you got to take the over, which doesn't make any damn sense. So that's being fixed.
Yeah, that's not right. It's 10.5. We've got UConn playing good football these days. It's crazy.
All eligible Huskies are playing Army, so that's a little user error, but it's being fixed. And wouldn't you know it?
Voila!
Yes, a little voila. As there it goes.
Okay, we're good. UConn plus 10.5 against Army. We'll take that. We've got TCU giving the 2.5 against Baylor. Baylor, who got blown the hell out. It has not been a great year for Dave Aranda, who everybody loves prattling on about. Oh, that Dave Aranda. Baylor sucks. Arizona plus 4 against Washington State. Louisville minus 4 against NC State. UNC minus 21 against Georgia Tech. Word on the street, Tom Lang, we talked about this very briefly yesterday because of the injury status, but it looks like Sims is going to be hitting the transfer portal, which makes a lot of sense. We kind of figured he would be. Why wouldn't you be? I would think that we should be reading a headline soon that reads, entire Georgia Tech program decides to transfer.
Yeah, probably. So, I mean, throw for throw, very small sample size, but I thought their third-string quarterback, the freshman, was the best of the lot in the limited action I saw against FSU. That dude was fearless to throw between the hash marks, so I think they're better off. If they play that kid, maybe they cover because North Carolina pulls a Mac Brown.
I hope not. I had to take a Mac Brown here and deliver the 21, but I'll probably get hosed by Mac Brown for doing so. UCLA plus 2 against Southern Cal. Southern Cal has been really beat up with injury, and I think this is where it comes back to haunt them. I like UCLA in the game. Pizza money on the money line for UCLA. Tennessee needs style points right now, and so they've had no apprehension regarding running up the score. They were still throwing late in the fourth quarter, up by 35 last week. Threw a bomb in that game. Late in the fourth quarter. I think they'll continue to do it. I think Heupel knows it's the best chance they have is to just beat people by 100 if they can. And, South Carolina is awful. So I'll lay the 22. Kansas State minus 7.5 against West Virginia. I like that K-State team. I really do. They've been good to me this year. Auburn minus 5.5 against Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky's not good. Auburn's not good. They love them some Cadillac. They're going to play hard for Cadillac. I'll lay the 5.5 there and hope the defense carries the day. Wake Forest minus 10 against Syracuse. I think Syracuse is packing it in. I think Syracuse is calling it a day. They've now lost 4 straight. It's probably not easy to play for Dino Babers. He's a disingenuous jerk. So I would imagine they continue to lay down here. Wake will lay the 10 and beat up on a defense whose secondary was once good but is missing players now, and they don't cover very well. So those are the lines brought to you by our friends at Metro Deli. I don't see why not. Good old Metro Deli. We hope it's an ATM week. Last week was not. We went 4-6 last week. After having back-to-back winning weeks, we fell back off the the cover train, Tom. We slid off the tracks, and now we have to bounce back this week and get back in the win column and win. It sounds so much better when you're able to say we've won 3 of our last 4 weeks. So hopefully that's what happens.
3 winning weeks in our last 4. Yeah, that's got a pitch to it. But, that was a slight maintenance delay. The train is not off the tracks. 4 and 6 is not the train off the tracks. That's just hang on a minute.
Yeah.
We need to tighten up some of the lug nuts on the railway. That's all.
Yeah. Little hiccup. I read this yesterday and brought up, we talked yesterday about the rivalry. I actually had a long call with a buddy of mine out of town who happens to be a Gator. And we were talking at length about that matchup. And it occurs to me that I did not read from the column yesterday that I wanted to. This about Florida State, ESPN.com, college football. In early October, Mike Norvell's Seminoles hit a rough patch that could have completely derailed their season. They lost to Wake Forest, NC State, and Clemson in consecutive weeks. And while each game was competitive, they had gone from 4-0 to 4-3. Crisis? Nope. After a bye week in Week 8, FSU overachieved projections by an average of 25.3 points per game against Georgia Tech, Miami, and Syracuse. The Noles have leapt from 38th to 19th in SP+. Just so happens they're sitting at 19th. Is that right?
Yeah,
I believe.
Yes.
Yep. Which is also off. I will get to that in a minute. Which gives them a 48% chance of beating both Louisiana and Florida to finish the regular season 9-3. For a program that incredibly hasn't won more than 7 games since 2016, this is a massive step forward. So that's Bill Conley. You surprised by the percentage at 48%?
Yeah, that doesn't make any damn sense to me. It basically, it's what is your chance of winning the Florida game? And I understand, they could slot Louisiana somewhere around 88%, 93%, 95%. Right. I don't know what the metrics say about what the Raging Cajuns are, but I think it all comes down to what does SP Plus think their chances against Florida? And given that game is at home at night, there's a ramp-up effect for both teams, but Florida State gets the easier ramp-up with Louisiana. Florida's defense sucks. Florida State's defense is pretty good, and both offenses can be electric. I would say there should be something closer to a 68% chance or a 65% chance.
Yeah, this is what he wrote directly underneath Florida State's bubble for Florida. Maybe the biggest obstacle to FSU's current smoking hot status, the rival Gators are also gaining steam, albeit in a small sample size. After underachieving against projections and losses to both LSU and Georgia and falling to 4-4, Florida overachieved by 23.3 points in their 41-24 win over A&M, then by 29 points in Saturday's 38-6 destruction of South Carolina. 2 games does not a turnaround make. But the Gators hit these heights in what appears to be a pretty sustainable way. They doubled down on a run game, rushing a combined 104 times against the Aggies and Gamecocks and gaining 665 yards in the process. Defensively, the Gators controlled the Aggies by shutting down their admittedly awful passing game, then dominated the line of scrimmage against a fading South Carolina front. Florida FSU has not generated a ton of rivalry week buzz in years, but both of these teams are playing their best football this time of year. The game is just 2 weeks away. Now the game is a little over a week away. Yeah, it's interesting. I think that the computer, this is where you get in trouble with these kinds of stats, right? The computer is going to give Florida a ton of credit for the yardages gained. Something's going on with Tom's computer. For the yardages gained against Texas A&M, most notably. Because A&M, while awful on offense, and Florida's defense gets no credit in that game because they gave up plenty of points to Texas A&M, who's not any good. Where Florida's offense gets credit is for putting up those huge amounts of yards against A&M, who for the most part hasn't done that. A&M's defense has been good, but the computer doesn't know that half of the starting lineup for Texas A&M's defense was out with the flu. Correct. So I think that's where the percentages go awry. And the computer also doesn't understand that South Carolina is a lot like Syracuse right now, falling off a cliff. It's over. The dream is over. Their season, that would have been more impressive had it been done much earlier in the year. for both teams, for Florida State against Syracuse and for Florida against South Carolina. So the numbers, I think, are more skewed when they point to Florida's recent success than they are Florida State's. And, the one thing I have said in talking about our defense, which I agree with you is better. I don't think it's great, but I think it is better without question. They have grown. You are right about that. And they're certainly better with Fabian Lovett out there. That changes things quite a bit. But I do think they played a 3-game stretch against very listless offenses that have very little chance of succeeding, partly because their quarterbacks either stink or are hurt or both. And so I do think it will be, in some ways, kind of a more interesting test this weekend because the quarterback is not a bum for Louisiana. He's not great. I'm not trying to make him out to be some superstar, but he is more athletic than we've seen lately, and they are a little bit better suited to compete. They won't win. Florida State will win comfortably. But I do think they'll have a live body back there, and I don't believe that Florida State's faced one in recent weeks.
Yeah, it's hard to parse through all those things because you could also argue that Fabian Lovett's return at the same time as your down opponents in Georgia Tech, Miami, and Syracuse are going through quarterback issues is just a collision of a whole lot of noise in the data, to use a data analyst term. That how do you sort it through all that and come up to a conclusion? The thing I'd say is I go back to the LSU game at the beginning of the season where their offensive line's a little bit healthier than it was in the middle parts of 2022. Mm-hmm. And this defensive line with a healthy Jared Verse and a healthy Fabian Lovett controlled the line of scrimmage against an SEC foe. And I think that's something that is a safer bet against Florida than not, is that they'll be able to control for drives, not the whole game, but for drives, and get Florida into those 2nd and 8s and 3rd and 6s. And I'm really interested to see that because, again, it's a case of a lot of what ifs. If that group was completely healthy up front for Florida State, and now, what's happened with Patrick Payton and Josh Farmer and their growth and that fortifies some depth, what could have been? And maybe Florida State wins out and they get to a good bowl because some of the other chips fall in Florida State's direction, and you get to see a legitimate test in the bowl game. And perhaps those guys are still participating. That's not a guarantee either that Fabian or Jared Verse would say, I'm still in. I'm playing for that 10th win. They might say, I've done enough. Yeah, Patrick, Josh, you guys get it. But I just want to see that group, that front 4, that front 7, as fully healthy as possible because it's just, man, it's different. It fundamentally changes everything about this defense, and I think they've also developed at other positions throughout the season too. I just think that Florida State's the more complete team, and they should be favored by more than what a neutral site or a home field, movement of the line would be. So what is that? 3 points, 4 points?
Yeah, 2.5 to 3. Yeah,
they should be favored by more than that baseline. Is my point.
It's weird. I had one of those cool moments where some games, it jumps off the page at you, and you can almost nail the score exactly. But sometimes also it's just it's burned, it's imprinted in your mind. All week long, I thought not at all about this Louisiana game and instead about the Florida game. And I keep coming back to 41-24 Noles. I just feel like 41-24 feels right. I do think Anthony Richardson's going to make some plays. I do think, obviously ATN will make some plays. There's some talent there. But I'm like you. I think Florida State was going to move the ball on Florida's defense pretty consistently, and they'll get enough stops. It's going to be an interesting offseason. I don't want to leap there while we have 2 weeks to play, plus a bowl game. But my mind has begun to drift there. It's going to be an interesting offseason. It's going to be an interesting signing day. But also I want to see what they do in the portal. How heavy do they go after it? You and I had a long conversation about this yesterday. I'm getting more into the machinations and the balancing acts that have to take place with a program that has now taken the next step. And it's exciting to do that because it's, when you haven't taken that step, you're only hyper-focused and vigilant in discussion about the next step. That's all you do is, when are we going to see this team put together a winning season? When are they going to play a good brand of football for a prolonged period of time, right? But those questions have now been answered. They've been largely stamped. Barring a 2-game losing streak here, there's really nothing that can undo the evidence we've seen that the program has taken the aforementioned step. So now you get into not sustaining that, but potentially improving it. And I think a lot of that involves who stays, who goes. That's why I say it's going to be an interesting offseason. Who stays, who goes. How much does the collective have for roster retention and acquisition? How heavy does the coaching staff believe they need to hit the portal without upsetting the apple cart of young talent that we know is on this roster and waiting for their opportunity, in particular the offensive line? Like, what if you went and portaled 2 offensive linemen or even just 1 tackle? How does that work with the offensive line? How many guys, who gets told they have to wait another year, and how do they handle it? So that's fascinating. And then I do, again, anticipate perhaps a couple of people that, or at least in my mind, I think there will be at least 1 change on the staff, possibly 2.
Yeah.
And I'm not singling out any one person. I'm not getting into that right now. The sense I get is there will be a couple of changes, and that's fine. I believe there needs to be. But it will be fascinating to see exactly who those 2 to 3 guys or 1 guy are. I am curious to see how he goes about it, because there's a lot of different ways to play it if it's on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I agree. But it's funny because I think typically on a Thursday it's the hour 2 open when we start asking these broad questions ahead of us solving for the future. But it's what you think about on a week you're playing Louisiana. And then all you're looking at is Florida. The thing I'd say about this group and the here and now is it's kind of like when you're putting your lines together and you see that Tennessee is a 22-point favorite against South Carolina and they need style points. And so the motivation is there. The thing I love about this game against Florida is both teams' motivation will be there, but Florida State's motivation is built through physicality up front on both offense and defense. And that has a different way of connecting with recruits. If they get enough good bodies on campus here, and Michael Langston last night on the recruiting chat on Warchant TV, which was live, said that he expects some names that have not yet been on campus at Florida State at all to be in attendance for the FSU and UF game. If you give them a night atmosphere at Doak with that kind of offense, and they perform up to what their brand new expectation is, which is pretty much elite college football offense. And you see the physicality and the multiplicity, and they're making plays at running back, first and foremost. The offensive line is now a group that you could almost call playmakers with the way that they're generating things for Trey Benson. The receivers are not hapless like they were in this football game against the Gators last year. And Jordan Travis, of course, is in the center of it all. That connects, man. And if you see also improved defensive back play and a blood in the water feeling for a couple of drives, and you could sense that in the crowd. There's nothing like when the defense takes the field in front of the home crowd and you're up a score or 2 and you feel that. Don't let us get off the field here. Don't let us get off the field here. There's that desperation in the crowd noise. It's almost like a finish him moment from Mortal Kombat.
Correct.
It's got its own little juice to it. And that's the one thing about this stretch, these last 8 quarters of football for Florida State, which is just unlucky. If you played Miami at home, and you laid the wood like that, the impression you would have made on recruits would have been unbelievable. So I just look forward to that game for those reasons, because if you could do somewhat of what you've just done for the last 12 quarters of football, the final impression you're going to make to a lot of these recruits, and sometimes, in some cases, the first impression that you're going to make is just going to be so damn strong. And we'll see if it pays off for them.
Did you see Good Morning Football today?
I did not. Oh, did Malik McLean make angry runs?
No, it was just funny because it was Jimmy Johnson pimping his book. And in the course of the interview with the Good Morning Football staff, he mentioned that he and Jay-Z had gone down to the Florida State-Miami game. And that they were on the sideline for that game. Very excited. Jay-Z was excited to be with Jimmy Johnson at a Florida State-Miami game because he had never done it before. And Jimmy had made all these promises, and then he was forced to admit today that, of course, alas, Florida State didn't just beat Miami, but humiliated Miami in a way that is seldom seen. You might say even record-breaking fashion, and that they left very early. There was no reason to be on that sideline. And I thought, that's just something to warm the heart on a Thursday while we're thinking about things, all the good things that have happened this year. It's just nice knowing that that Jimmy Johnson, their former coach, flies Jay-Z into town to be on the sidelines for this momentous occasion, only to take a momentous ass kicking. It's just beautiful. And I'm not going to stop bringing it up all year long. I'm not going to stop bringing it up.
There is no extends pill in the world, Jimmy Johnson, that would have saved Miami and made them less flaccid.
I forgot about the extends. That is so good. When we come back, unfortunate news on the are they going to stay, are they going to leave front regarding Florida State's roster. It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
Hey, this is Greg Tish. Here's something you might know about me. I don't drink coffee. I have never had a cup of coffee in my life. Well, that is until now. So why change now? Well, it's because my dear friend at Grassroots Coffee reached out to me after hearing me say that and insisted that I give his product a try. I've been making a huge mistake. The world of coffee is fascinating. I always thought coffee is coffee, you know? No, it's not. I have tried their coffee and it is fantastic. Now, I've got a fascination with learning more about the best coffee in our area. Grassroots Coffee is locally roasted, locally owned, and locally loved. You can find whole bean Grassroots Coffee on the local aisle at Publix, also in Whole Foods. But the best way to get this black gold is to order it online. They literally grind the fresh roasted beans to your preferred level, bag it, write the date on it by hand so you know the exact day your coffee was roasted. It doesn't get any more fresh than that. Order yours now. Just go to grassrootscoffee.com and choose the coffee you want and how you want it. And join me. Let's step up our coffee game together and also support a great local business.
Hi, this is Jamie McClenny from Trek Financial in Tallahassee. Managing downside risk in your portfolio is one of the biggest challenges that you'll face in retirement. Trillions of dollars in stimulus from the Federal Reserve and D.C. politicians combined with zero interest rates, have propped up financial markets since the financial crisis ended in 2009. The Fed recently ended quantitative easing and has started to raise interest rates at a time when the global economy was already slowing. Have you considered what another 50% correction in the stock market would do to your retirement plan? If you're concerned about where this all might be headed and would like to find out about the potential benefits of an active risk management strategy for your portfolio, give me a call at 850-900-5200 and schedule a time for a review of your portfolio from an active risk management perspective.
Make Jamie your first call for a second opinion. Investment advisory services are offered through Trek Financial, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
So let's say you're considering buying a new home in the current climate. All heard that demand is high, inventory is low. So how do you get a leg up on the rest of the buyers all making offers on the same house as you? Oh, that's a toughie. But the first place I'd suggest you start is with a call to my friend Shannon at Legendary Home Loans. Shannon will set you up with complete pre-approval underwriting. This used to be an upgrade, but nowadays it's got to be standard. You want to get your offer on a new home pushed to the front of the line, you need a TBD full underwriting approval from Legendary Home Loans. You'll shorten or even remove your financing contingency, and the sellers will know that your offer is real and ready to go. It's tough out there these days, folks. So why not have the advantage of a proven winning team in your huddle? Get pre-approval underwriting from my friend Shannon with the one and only Legendary Home Loans. Call now, 844-FSU-LOAN, 844-FSU-LOAN, or just visit FSUHomeLoans.com. FSUHomeLoans.com.
Equal housing lender. NMLS number 2270146.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
The Jammin' Show brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness. 2 Tallahassee locations, Midtown on Thomasville Road and Northside in the Village Common Shopping Center. Online at orangetheoryfitness.com.
Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio on a Redemption Thursday and Warchant TV. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We appreciate you. Picks are up. I'll go back over those in a little bit. I mentioned before the break a moment ago. Good news, bad news, all that is what we're looking at closely as it pertains to the roster. Don't have definitive information. Nobody said anything just yet. But you can't help but wonder the more you see articles like this one, written today by Todd McShay. He's not the gospel, but he's also not alone right now, and that begins to concern me. Quote, Jared Verse, first round, the snap in Verse's hips and hands jump out on tape. He's at his best, overwhelming offensive tackles with speed to power when rushing the passer. The Albany transfer mixes in an effective inside move. He can beat interior offensive linemen clean when he kicks inside as well. He shoots his hands, stacks bigger blockers, gets off of blocks, and defends the run well. Even though he's on the leaner side of the table, he has the active hands and foot speed to slip blocks and disrupt plays in the backfield. He's a big riser for this reason. Versus piled up 6.5 sacks, 12.5 tackles for loss already this year despite missing time, 16 pressures in 9 games as well. Verse has very steadily this season gone from late second round, mid second round, early second round, late first round, and we're beginning to see some evidence that he's moving more towards the lower 20s in that first round, at least in projections. And again, these guys, they put out 100 mock drafts. So it changes all the time. And it's not set in stone. They don't always get it right. But I will tell you, and I think most people know this, if you check, I don't know, 5 of the 700 mock drafts, if you check 5 of them, just the first 5 you feel like going to, and the same name is in the same ballpark in the first round over and over and over again, then those guys are hearing things. They're hearing things from teams and scouts. And you'll see, that's the other thing. You get Senior Bowl invites and things like that prove to be evidence to some degree. So I think we're going to lose Jared Verse. And I think no longer is that really at this point. It doesn't feel like that's up for debate. I think he's gone.
Yeah, and you congratulate the young man. You wish, perhaps you could have parlayed this into a more explosive season. But then again, last year with Jermaine Johnson and Keir Thomas, they only won 5 games. So this is a huge development. It's also another feather in the cap for staying ahead of the game in the portal and looking for that next solution and finding one that not only projects but delivers. We thought that this might be a 2-year solution for Florida State at the position. It
sure felt like it the first day we saw him, but man, did he come on strong towards the end of camp, and then all of a sudden, boom.
Well, and I got to take issue with taking issue with Todd McShay is like an annual tradition. On the leaner side, what the hell are you talking about? That dude is pretty big, and that looks like an NFL ready-made body. He's listed at 248. I wouldn't be stunned if he's carrying 248 or 250. Sometimes these heights and weights are a little bit, exaggerated. Sure. He looks dense enough to be a bona fide, Sunday player. He doesn't look like Brian Burns or, that's somebody I would say is on the leaner side. Jared's got some density and strength to him. He plays like a complete edge rusher in terms of he's not a finesse one-trick pony, and then he's not a run stuffer. He's got both of those tools in his skill set. Are they a little bit on the raw side for the NFL? Sure, I'd say that, but just because he hasn't gone against this level of competition for an extended period of time. But my man has the density. I wouldn't consider him to be an undersized player. Well, at least I wouldn't consider him to be a leaner player at the NFL level. He looks ready to go in that department.
Yeah, and it might be semantics. It might just be the way he uses lean or the way you interpret lean, right? I think he means lean by the weight. 248. I think he thinks that's smallish for an NFL defensive end. I would say I would never say Jared Verse is a big defensive end, but I would also not say he's a small defensive end. I think he's kind of a prototypical, maybe somewhere in there. He'll put on more size. He's gonna get bigger. And so by definition, there's room. You know what I mean? Like, he can get bigger, but he's already so strong. And that's what I care much more about. He's quick and strong. I wanted to see more than anything else was we both thought, I think everybody did, just the raw looking at him in practice, he's going to garner sacks. In fact, we were asked preseason who leads the team in sacks this year. And we I think you and I both wrestled between Tatum Bethune and him, just because we thought maybe Tatum would blitz more, or even Jamie Robinson's name came up just because we thought they might utilize him as a rusher that way. But we both settled on Jared Verse. Well, that's because we saw already in practice how quick he was off the ball. What I was concerned about, and what I thought would take another full year, which is why I thought we'd have him for 2 years, is I thought he might struggle against the run. But he doesn't struggle to set the edge. He doesn't struggle in the run game. Once after that first game, he realized that at this level of play, you can be burned when you take chances as opposed to just doing your job. He really hasn't made that mistake. I mean, maybe one other time. That's it.
Yeah, after watching him for an extended period of time, a couple of things popped up. He wasn't making mistakes out of aggression because he didn't have the IQ. He knew exactly what defenses were doing. I think he was trying to learn what he could and couldn't get away with his superior athleticism. That's very different than just crashing all the time because you're hunting for a play and you don't know any better. Like, you could see that he knew. And then the second thing that jumped off the page to me immediately, because sometimes a reputation or a stereotype of a position that you have in your mind doesn't match what the player is. For example, Andrew Parchment, I thought was going to be a shorter Johnny Wilson last year. When they first announced the acquisition that he was coming to Florida State, I thought, oh, there's your red zone target. Then he gets on campus. I'm like, no, this guy's way too wiry to be a red zone target. He might be your burner. So sometimes you got to see the kid, and obviously the coaches do. But what I thought that Jared Verse would be undersized, like McShay is saying that he is now, which is not right, and a finesse player. And what I was taken aback by was his strength. When he gets his hands on you, like, immediately you could see it against Robert Scott in practice. I'm like, oh my God, look how strong this guy already is. And then it was just a matter of, is the game too fast for him? Well, after about a quarter and a half of LSU, you're like, nope, the game's not too fast for this guy, not in the least bit. And it just kept on building on itself. And it's unfortunate that, an asset like that moves forward, but he's a great kid. He cared about the program, and I think if it was close, he would come back, but it's not close. And so go on, man. Succeed and get your money. That's why the portal exists now, is for players like this to advance, and I'm glad that we're a university that now could be looked at as a landing spot for advancement, because it's all part of the pitch.
Yeah, and by the way, Jamie Robinson is on his overall ranking list as well as basically projected sort of second-round type player, and he has Fabian Lovett as a third-round type player, and that is interesting with Fabian Lovett. That we get into what rounds do you know what I mean? Like you start thinking.
Well, as I understand it, didn't both Jamie Robinson and Fabian Lovett accept Senior Bowl invitations?
Yeah, so they're taking it on down the road.
Yeah. The one good bit of news was yesterday what Rising Spear was able to announce, which is a partnership with wide receiver Johnny Wilson. I don't think that if you're Johnny, you accept a deal with Rising Spear for a couple of weeks worth of, extra meals.
Right.
I think that signals that, there's a return coming, that you have been made a priority. And maybe it means that more offensive players are coming back than not. I'd like to believe that. Now that's just hope talking. But the timing of that announcement to me says that at least when it comes to the offense, you're keeping one of those playmakers, while on defense, you're going to have to replace your best two defensive linemen. And Jamie Robinson, who I think, independent of competition, has really come on in recent weeks and looks like the version of himself from last year.
Yeah, so if you and I are just projecting based on evidence, whether those are draft projections, draft grades, accepting invites to Senior Bowls, accepting a rising spear in the deal, the evidence tells us that Johnny Wilson will be back. The evidence tells us, I think, that Mr. Benson will be back. I think he'll be back, and I think he'll have a massive year and vault himself into the first round. And then I think defensively, you're correct. Obviously, you're going to lose Jamie Robinson. You're going to lose Fabian Lovett, and it appears you're going to lose Jared Verse. So a lot to replace there. I think you might have a player to replace Jamie Robinson who's currently on the roster playing very good football when he gets his opportunities. I do think replacing Fabian Lovett is difficult. You're going to need, because you lose Coop and you lose Fabian, and those are two huge bodies. And, of course, Cooper didn't have the year that we were hoping he'd have because he's played hurt. And that was really, that came to bear when Fabian missed time and Coop had to play more snaps. He was not a dominant figure at all. So what Florida State does there, they've got some players we really like. Obviously, Farmer's high on that list of players that we like and think can be a dominant player. But when you're talking about depth, that is a critical aspect of this offseason. I keep bringing up offseason because we're so close to it, and it's an intriguing time in the program's transition. Do you go get a dominant player in the transfer portal? Does this independent collective have enough juice to bring a player in from, say, the Big Ten, whose team at one time was having a great season, but has now suffered a couple of losses in a row, about to lose their third in a row because they play Michigan this weekend? Might you bring in one of those defensive stoppers? There are two on that roster that we feel good about being from the state of Florida, maybe wanting to get out of the cold. Perhaps Illinois is not going the direction everybody thought they were. Just stuff to watch here.
Yeah, I would love if that's the case. The only thing that concerns me about something like that is counting chickens. And, the state of Florida has multiple institutions that would pay good money for a kid
Correct.
from outside the state to come down the pike. And that's something you want to have finalized before you count on it. I think the defensive interior is adequate as it stands, even with the departure of Fabian Lovett and assuming Big Coop is gone as well. I think it's adequate because you've got Farmer, Ray, I guess Jared Jackson would come back for another year, Bishop Thomas, Daniel Lyons, and Tafasi. And they just moved Woody over there, the 2022 signee, Antavius Woody, who's a large body in his own right. So I think that's adequate but not special, and it's got a chance to be, but just as it stands now. If you go get one guy for the defensive interior, I think it's worth it. It takes it from potentially good to a difference maker.
Yeah, and I'm wanting, and I'm going to start to be, kind of bearish on this and really, or bullish, I should say, on this. Florida State needs to go. We did it this offseason. We said it had to be a big transitional season. It had to be a big year. I said it, I kind of threw out there, you and I both did, they got to win 7-8 games. That's got to happen. If they don't, they're not going to fire him, but he's dead in the water. So we achieved that hurdle, right? We think. I mean, I'm assuming a win over Louisiana this weekend. Yeah. So you jump that hurdle. I'm putting up another hurdle. Let's go. We're not stopping here. Like, you got to go be dominant now because Clemson's time needs to be over. And there ain't nobody in the Coastal worth a damn. Well, North Carolina can throw it, but they don't defend anybody, so I don't worry about them. Here you go. Let's go. I'm putting up the next hurdle. Win the Atlantic. Mm-hmm. Play for an ACC championship next year. If you're playing for an ACC championship next year, you are a potential college football playoff team for sure. And now we're at another level of football. Now you're talking about, adequate's nice when you're trying to take steps, but now we want to be dominant. We want to be dominant. Now you go out and you get more than you need, and you stockpile dudes, because we see it all the time. In the trenches, dudes get hurt, and they miss significant time. It happens. Those are massive bodies colliding on every play. You'd never get, very, very rarely do you get through a season with all of your offensive linemen and all your defensive linemen intact. So you got to get more than you need.
I agree. What I wonder is when you are setting a budget for acquisitions like these, where do you prioritize the spots on the budget? And that's still to be determined because you got to see who else may go early or just transfer because their room is too crowded. That position group is too crowded. So you got to see what's coming up down the pike. But I think if you're looking at JUCOs or just straight transfers, I think linebacker has to be a top priority because Blake Nicholson's a nice player, but I mean, are we going to assume that as a true freshman he's going to be ready to go? I don't know.
I'm going to tell you, I think he starts. I do.
As a true freshman? Well,
I think so.
I'd still like to have
want somebody though. Tom, I'm with you. I still want somebody, but I think his body plays. I think he plays right now.
You want an insurance policy though, at the very least, or depth because let's say the Bethune's gone. I mean, I don't know what the case is going to be there. He has another year of eligibility if he wants it, but let's say Bethune's gone. So then you're talking about Nicholson and Lundy with Gant.
No.
That's not enough. That's not going to get it done. Corner, I think, has to be a high priority again this offseason. You can't have enough of those guys in general, but certainly with this group, I think you need one or two. Mm-hmm. And then defensive end has to be a top priority. Patrick Payton's going to be nice for you next year. Needs to get in the weight room, put on a couple more pounds, and that would be good. But I think defensive interior, if you look at the group, it's with safety where I'd say it's down the pecking order just a little bit because I feel good about Shaheem Brown next year.
I love Shaheem Brown.
I'm okay with some of the options that they have also. If McClellan sticks around, Sidney Williams was once upon a time a starter. I just think they're loaded at that particular position currently. And McCall was always talked about as a combo corner safety. So maybe that's where Sam McCall finds his home. I don't know. We'll see where it all goes. But if you have only so many resources to go grab and upgrade your roster, I wonder where defensive tackle actually would be given the influx of young talent and a deep group of talent that you have.
Yeah, I think it's probably not as high, obviously, as the positions that you just noted. But if you have a gift that wants to fall into your lap, then I think you go ahead and readily accept that. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.
WIC provides commercial, residential, and industrial electrical wiring services, yearly inspections on fire alarms, portable generator sales, and so much more. With 24/7 emergency service and repair, Weston Trawick will be your calm in the storm. Give them a call at 514-0003. Weston Trawick. Professional electrical services day or night. Visit online at westontrawick.com.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit beefy, or even with type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Affordable term life insurance is out there. Call Term Provider and speak with Big Lou at 800-481-1458, 800-481-1458, or visit biglou.com. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too.
Have you wanted to speak a new language but thought it'd be too difficult or take too much time? Then try Babbel. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel teaches you conversations that you will actually use. With 14 languages and lesson topics like travel, business, relationships, and more, you'll learn what matters most to you. Babbel. Language for life. Learn a new language with ease. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com.
Every great construction project, whether it's a new addition or renovation, starts with a plan. At T-Spark, we are excited when our clients contact us to assist with that plan. Through our team of architects, draftsmen, engineers, we can help you with your project's planning and design, potentially saving costs in the long run. Whether you have a residential or commercial project, we look forward to working with you. Call us today or visit us at tsparkconstruction.com. License number CGC 1525336.
Crawfordville Auto and Tire. Crawfordville Auto and Tire. Oh, hey there. I was just singing the praises of Crawfordville Auto and Tire. They do just about everything. Complete engine rebuilds, brakes, shocks, tires, oil change, you name it, they do it. And they offer a 12-month, 12,000-mile warranty on all parts and labor. Most of the time, they can service your car the same day and offer towing to help you get to the shop. Now that's something to sing about. Open weekdays from 7:30 in the morning until 6 at night. Crawfordville Auto Repair and Tires.
Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. This cracked me up. The Jeff Cameron Show PR firm was kind of awakened very briefly, but not because of a faux pas or anything like that. It's like, the hell are you talking about? This doesn't make any sense. So Trev Alberts is the athletic director at Nebraska. And I always feel very old when I bring that up because I saw all of Trev Alberts' playing career at Nebraska. And I also remember his NFL career with the Colts. And I also remember him on the desk for College Game Day. And then I remember the pithy little argument that he got in, and he didn't feel like he was getting enough attention when Herb Street was hired, and it bothered him. So he cried about that and left. And eventually he was found by Nebraska and brought home to be their athletic director. Now, apparently he's well respected, but he's 0 for 1 on hires, and you don't really get to survive 0 for 2. So this hire is probably the biggest moment of his professional career. And they, of course, fired his first hire, which, in fairness to him, looked like a slam dunk. That didn't turn out to be, and that's how precarious hiring coaches is and how ridiculous it is. And we get into the puppet strings being played. We all know how that works. But he's got to get the right hire here. So all year long, I've done this Nebraska show with those guys, and I won't bore you guys with that. This isn't Nebraska radio. But the topic du jour, of course, since about week 2 when they fired Scott Frost, or week 3, whatever the hell it was, has been who's going to be the next coach and how good is the Nebraska job really? Like, what are they? They've been in the wilderness for 20 years. Like, how good is that job? And trying to gauge the answer to that question has been fascinating because I like college football. So I think it's interesting anytime a once proud, dominant pillar, if you will, of the college football world falls off a cliff. Well, that doesn't happen every day. I mean, you get bad seasons from Florida State. You get bad seasons from Florida. You get bad years from Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, Notre Dame, Southern Cal, Michigan, you name it. But they don't cease to be relevant. Like, they don't go away permanently. And it looks like kind of Nebraska, Tom, has gone away permanently. So people are edgy because it's a state that nobody's moving to. People aren't flocking to go to Nebraska. And now they're like, man, they don't like our state. And the one thing that we could hang our hat on in this damn state was the football program. And now we don't even have that. So we're just a state that's losing people and we suck at football. This isn't good. So all of this is added up to a lot of angst is what I'm getting at. And then I read this. Trev Alberts, when asked on Omaha radio station there in Nebraska, quote, "We're under no timeline and we're certainly not going to be in a rush to make a hire," said Trev Alberts on Huskers Radio Network. What the hell are you talking about? This season's about to be over. By definition, you got to hire a new coach. What? This is the most important thing in the world to those poor people, those poor dying farmers whose states are being bled. They've got nothing to fall back on. And here you are, just asinine comments. The first time you've been on public radio all year long, you're like, well, we're in no hurry. You better damn well be in a hurry, my man. Signing day. It's about to happen, bro. You got to have a coach. The transfer portal opens on December the 5th. It's November 17th. Again, by definition, you better be in a hurry to hire a coach. I love it. That's the best. I think if I had been that radio host, I would have been like, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Trev, but you're full of, you know what? What the hell are you talking about? You've probably already made the hire for starters. Secondly, you can't come on here and tell me that you're not in a hurry. You've had all season. The time to not be in a hurry was week 3 or whatever, but now you got to be in a hurry.
So I got to ask then, since you do these particular programs with the Nebraska network, you've piqued my interest in a way it hasn't been with Nebraska since, I don't know, that night on New Year's when my dad woke me up and said we beat him.
Yeah.
Do they have a candidate? Or is this because they don't have a choice? They don't have anybody they like, and so this is a stall tactic to install a holdover or something? What the hell is going on?
Okay, so Mickey Joseph is the interim coach. He played quarterback at Nebraska many eons ago, and so he's beloved as a former player, but they don't win games, and he's never been a head coach at this level. So I can't fathom that Mickey Joseph is going to be their next head coach. And all year long, there have been people saying, well, you know, he could. No, he can't. Stop it. That you can't do that. You're trying to get this program back. He's got no chance. At best, he could be the Colorado coach if Dion doesn't take that job. And by the way, there are whispers that Dion is going to be offered the Colorado job. And by the way, if I'm Dion, I take it because you're not getting the Auburn job. You're not getting this job. And I don't know what else you're going to get, but I'd take the Colorado job if I'm him. And I tell you this much, if I'm Colorado, I would actually hire Dion. All right, enough about that. So here we go, right? Here's what I'll tell you. I think Matt Rule is a serious candidate for the Nebraska job. I think, and that'd be a very good hire. I think that would be a very good hire. I think if I'm Trev Alberts, if you can't get somebody, what's his name at Cincinnati or somebody like that, which I don't think you're going to get him.
Fickle, there's no way.
No, you're not getting Fickle. So I think you got to go after Matt Rule. Your problem with or O'Brien at Alabama, the OC at Alabama he did do a good job in college. He could maybe be your guy. The only thing I'll say to finish up this point, we'll go into the next hour. I think you throw the world at him because the one thing going for Nebraska, besides a rabid fan base that has sold out 300-plus games in a row despite all this sucking, they're about to have back-to-back 3-9 seasons, is that you've got more money than God because of that booster fan base and because you're in the Big Ten. You're going to have even more money coming up. So you have an advantage over teams even like Florida State. Not that we're in a position, we're not having to do this right now, but you can offer some dude $10 million a year if you want. I mean, you can offer somebody a king's ransom to come coach at Nebraska. So you ought to be aiming very high because I don't think money is an object at Nebraska. So aim for the world. I go after Bill Belichick. I mean, Chef Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
In the workforce, their goal is to climb the company ladder. Often the climb requires a move to another city, and that's especially true in our industry. I'm Jay of Paul's Termite and Pest Control. If you rise the ranks of our competitors, there's a good chance moving up means moving away. Why? Because they're not local companies. They're from places like Orlando, Atlanta, Salt Lake City, and even Europe. That's certainly not the case with our employees. We're a company that was founded in the Big Bend and remains locally owned. When Paul's Termite and Pest Control employees advance, they remain in the Tallahassee area. Don't trust the safety of your family and pets from disease-carrying pests or the structure of your biggest investment from termites to people who may be here today and gone tomorrow. Trust Paul's Termite and Pest Control, a company that has serviced thousands of our neighbors right here for over 50 years. Being local really does matter in our industry because local problems require local solutions. Paul's Termite and Pest Control are the Big Bend's local experts for the elimination of termites or any other pest, and a greener lawn too. Call Paul's. We'll get them all.
When you need a plumber quick, how long is an acceptable time to have to wait?
Yeah, hey, it's the Millers again. Just calling you about our little plumbing problem.
2 hours?
Hey, we were hoping you can get here soon because the water is getting really bad. I mean, please hurry.
4 hours?
I know you said you were on your way, but, honey, tell the kids to drink water.
8 hours?
Don't worry about us.
At M&L Plumbing, you'll never have to wait long for quality, dependable service right when you need it. At M&L Plumbing, we listen to our customers, and our qualified technicians aim to achieve 100% customer satisfaction. So the next time you need plumbing work or repairs, think of the name M&L Plumbing, your local plumbing experts, commercial or residential. Give us a call, 850-575-9393, or visit us online at mndlplumbing.com. M&L Plumbing, for all of your plumbing needs.
Imagine for a moment that you are completely weightless with zero gravity. All of your worries and stress melt away. Your mind stops racing and you fall into a profound state of pure relaxation. This is available to you right now at Tallulah Delta 8 Plus Floating in Railroad Square for just $50. These state-of-the-art floating pods are unlike anything else you've ever experienced, and while you're there, you can shop for some of the latest and greatest CBD and Delta 8 products on the market. Natural pain management, stress relief, and better sleep are all at your fingertips at Tallulah. Tell them Jeff Cameron sent you, and thank me later.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron Show. Live and local on Real Talk 93.3. WVFT, Gretna, Tallahassee.
You're a guy that practiced football.
Yeah,
Does this mean anything at all? Because I've noticed it more than I did last spring and last August when I went to practices. The guys walking off the field with each other, a lot more, in my opinion anyway, are actually talking about football as they walk off the field. They're talking about a particular play. They're talking about what they were trying to do on something.
Yeah.
Does that mean something, or is it just me
without
grasping at
question.
straws?
No, they're trying to get better, and they're buying in, and they're sacrificing for one another. It's the ultimate game of sacrifice. You got to do what I need you to do for a play to succeed. And
but
if
one,
you don't,
like
it
an older
doesn't matter if I
guy,
get it right.
an older guy is giving guy a hint, or, a tip as they're walking off the field, or just talking about a play that they had. I think that's a good sign, but I don't know. You got to score some points, so it doesn't matter the kumbaya stuff. But I do think that that's something.
Yeah, but it's
indicator.
It's working on your craft, like in anything. If you and Tom, if there's something that's kind of got you guys excited or
angry or
whatever it is, like you could talk about it afterwards and kind of and you're professionals. You guys are pros. But I think if you were just mailing it in, you wouldn't do that. You would just shut the door and see you tomorrow.
No, Tom knows when things are off, and he's good at handling being cursed at. So for me, I just get up and be like, tomorrow, you better get it together. I'm tired of this. And he's like, I got it.
When you want to throw something at him, do you have to walk around over to the other side?
No, he tells them to come in here so he can throw something out. Come get your whooping.
I'm holding that pin container, that cup over there.
He knows what's coming.
He knows. Get your hands up.
Yeah.
It's a long walk. It's a long walk from that
but he
side.
knows what's coming.
But that's communication.
Yeah.
We're communicating.
And the tapes that he has of you doing, like when Casey Kasem lost his mind and what's his name, Bill O'Reilly. We'll do it live. I mean, the stuff he's got of you just losing your mind. It's crazy. He's played that for me at a party.
As an aside, there was a hilarious way back when I did mornings for Clear Channel, which is now iHeart. The guy in the country station, his name was Terry. Anyhow, 94.9 TNT. I used to do their sports for their country morning show because I was doing mornings already. Right. So I would come during a commercial break, and he'd be like, "Now with sports, Jeff Cameron," and we would do it a machine called the 360 machine. They don't use them anymore. And anyhow, you'd record it in so he could just press a button. And I had to get in and out with the highlights from baseball, basketball, everything there was of the day, in and out inside of 45 seconds. And occasionally I would screw it up, and I would always, say something.
Right.
Because it wasn't live. Colorful. Unbeknownst to me, he saved it for a year.
Oh, nice.
And I'm a creative cursor.
Yeah, we've heard it.
Yeah,
we've heard it.
Yeah. So
not as much as Tom.
There are a lot of different things that I've mixed and matched and put together. And then at the end of the year, we were having our office celebration. He was like, "Hey, I want to thank Jeff this year for doing the sports for us. And here's a little taste of what we get every morning." And he played it.
Oh, that's fun.
And it's
probably a 20-minute
It's
clip.
like 20 minutes of everything you could
See,
imagine.
that's the thing that Tom played for me. It's not nearly as fun-loving. I mean, it is anger, and it's directed at him.
I don't think that's
and
true.
It's not.
You're painting a picture for our audience.
Yeah, I mean, it's
simply
pretty
not right.
maniacal. I mean, it's crazy.
Could you hear the slap?
No, you heard the mug crashing in the glass. I mean, it was nuts, Jeff.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus, happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Broadcasting live from Florida's capital city, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hour number 2, Jeff Cameron Show 93.3, Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Great to be with you on a Redemption Thursday. Speaking of which, we'll flash these babies up here in just a second. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Hey, by the way, if you haven't signed up today for a Warchant membership, you really should. You really should. It's just $10. Is that right, Tom? Still $10 to get you a Warchant membership?
$10 through August of next year. So it gets you through football camp. You know, a lot of things are going to happen for this football program in that time. So maybe you just want to put your hands to the sky like the floating otter. And
there it is.
Look at me. What an experience this is at warchant.com. It's worth it. I mean, $10. The dollar deal was stupid. This is slightly less stupid in terms of how cheap it is. You won't regret signing up with us at Warchant, and I hope you do.
I've decided I'm going to make it my personal quest to ride this. And, you know, we set a record, a company record to get to 10,000 subscribers. Like, we did it in like a day. It was unreal how quickly we were able to do this. And, you know, now we're well over that. But I've decided I want us to hit that 13,000 plateau in the next, say, 2 days. So I'm going to request that all of you who've been sitting idly by doing nothing, twiddling your thumbs, get off that $10. Come off that $10 and get you a warchant.com membership, everybody. That's what you do right there. Get off that $10. You'll see more of me, and Tommy. You'll see more of Tommy as well. How about that? T, Lizzie, and me. And then if we throw in Aslan and Corey and Ira, goodness gracious, think about that. You should want to give us $20. Maybe buy 2 memberships easily with all that goodness. And Michael Langston's covering the recruiting. Austin does a good job. We got so many good people. It's great.
I would think, and I wouldn't blame people, that by the end of football season, they're like, you know, I'll join Warchant, but I don't need any more Tom. There's a whole you know, we could take a break. I'll be ready when the spring game comes around, then he can come back in the fold. But let me read what Ira and Corey and Austin are doing.
I need a respite from Tom, is what you're saying.
Always on the damn channel. It's enough.
I told somebody one time, Tom, this is funny. I told somebody they came up to me and they asked me a sports question, and they apologized ahead of time. I was out at an establishment and they said, "Hey, listen, I have a question for you. I love your show. I've listened to it for years, and it's a really nice guy. I appreciate that. It never gets old. It's always flattering and humbling and cool." But he apologized for it because I think he realized, like, oh man, the guy's out in his normal life now. He's not behind a mic. He's sitting down waiting on food to go, having a beer. I really need to do this to him, you know, because normally I sit in the corner at my favorite place, Gordo's, and I watch the game and I have a beer and I talk to somebody that and probably not talking for sports, you know? And so this guy did that and he goes, "You probably get sick of this." I said, "No, you know what I get sick of? Me. I get sick of me. I'm so tired of hearing me talk about anything that you could have asked me what color the sky is, and I'm tired of hearing me say words." So it was like, it's not that you asked me anything about sports. It's just that I don't feel like talking. I answered his question, of course, and whatever. But yeah, you know how it is, Tom. When you wear headsets and you talk for a living, the last thing you want to do is continue to talk some more.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Saturday night, whenever the show is, I mean, it's 6 hours, you know?
Yeah,
like I can't take Scott Hansen for 7 hours, you know? And we're doing 6.5 and 7 hours of more talking than Scott Hansen does because he's got, football to kick to. Sure, I'm sick of myself, but I've had the similar experience at the fine Capital City Country Club. Actually, last week I happened upon a fellow member who was an Auburn fan. Very nice gentleman. And he said, I don't mean to ask you about shop. I'm like, you know what? I'm one of the luckiest people in the world, because when I talk shop, I talk about something that I would be anyway. I would be talking about this.
Correct. I tell people that too.
What you got, man? Fire away. So
yeah. And it's funny that the thing you only ever get sick of is not the sports. It's just your own voice. You just get tired of hearing yourself talk. And that is, and we know plenty of people in this business who've never been tired of hearing themselves talk. I mean, that's all over this business, so.
Perhaps on the Florida State coverage empire, there might be some, not at Warchant, of course, but you go, just keep going. Yeah,
just keep.
We're here for you. We're here for you.
TCU minus 2.5 against Baylor. I, for one, believe in this TCU team. All these damn doubters, Tom. TCU keeps making me money.
Okay, so let me add. Well, okay, there's one. That's one way to believe in a team, but what do you make of the argument? Because I'm hearing it in the national circles. I'm starting to listen to more college football talk radio because Florida State's going to come up more often. So
yes, they are.
I'm apt to listen to it more. But that TCU is among the most battle-tested programs in America because quietly the Big 12 doesn't have a lot of pushovers in the way of Georgia Tech or Syracuse or, well, Kentucky didn't do this, but Vandy or some other squads. Do you agree with that in handicapping this year and watching? Actually, I'm sure you watch a lot of Big 12 in Nebraska too. They're Big 10. See, I made the mistake of 1995. But you take my point that it seems like the Big 12 is more competitive week in, week out than a lot of these other Power 5 conferences.
Yeah, well, you could have used the example of TCU just ass-hammering Oklahoma earlier this year, 55-24, for example. That would be a good example. Yeah, I do kind of think that TCU is battle-tested. I also, and this is one of those things where you can say that two things are true at the same time. I don't think TCU is one of the 4 best teams in the country. I do think TCU deserves to be ranked amongst the 4 best teams in the country. This is not a perfect system. We don't have a perfect system. Their resume is a really good resume. If you just go through the season, I mentioned the aforementioned 55-24 win over Oklahoma. At the time, Kansas was undefeated. TCU was the first to defeat them, and they did that on the road against a ranked Kansas team, 38-31. By the way, Kansas is a pretty good football team. Yeah. At the time, Oklahoma State was undefeated. TCU was the one to beat Oklahoma State, who was ranked. They won that game in overtime, came back to do it, 43-40. Kansas State is currently ranked and a good football team, and TCU beat them by 10 points, 38-28. So do I think they're good? Yeah, they just went on the road and beat Texas, who everybody and their brother said was going to win that game, and they thought Texas was due to turn the corner and all that. TCU didn't give up an offensive touchdown to Texas.
Yeah. That's the key because Texas is putting up points. Nobody's accusing them of being a top 10 program right now at all. But you look at what they would have done to Alabama if their starting quarterback doesn't go down in that game. I mean, they would throw for 500 yards or 450 yards. And you're just looking for those little comparison points. September's different than November, I'll grant you. But TCU's defense was, lamented. And it was the thing that was holding them back in a lot of people's eyes. That's an impressive performance, no matter how you slice it.
Well, it was a dominant performance. Texas couldn't get to 200 yards. They got completely shut down. Bijan Robinson had 19 yards rushing.
Yep.
Ended his Heisman campaign. They ended his Heisman campaign. And he, by the way, is the best back we've seen since your boy with the Giants, who was with Penn State. Yeah, Saquon. So he's really good, and he got completely shut down. And Ewers played terrible. He was awful. He couldn't do a thing in this game. He threw it 39 times for no yards. So I think that's the whole thing, is that basically TCU is battle-tested. TCU is really good at playing football this year. The resume suggests they should be ranked in the top 4. I think, just my opinion, That's all we have to go on in the world of college football is the eye test. Yeah, you look at the metrics, but they don't all play each other and they don't all play the same schedule. And they all, so we don't get what we get in other sports. And I don't think TCU is one of the 4 best teams. I do think they're definitely a top 10 team. But it doesn't really matter because look, these other teams did play games and they lost some of them. So they can't supplant them. I don't know. Until TCU loses, they're going. They're going. And I picked them this weekend. -2.5, which means they're going to lose by 28 to Baylor.
And this will be on freezing cold takes. There you go. Yeah.
That's fine. UConn +10.5. I don't know. I just decided to get with the getting, everybody. How this has happened, I don't. It's amazing, but they have totally turned their season around in year 1 with your boy there. I'm surprised by that, but hey, good on him. +10.5. Arizona +4. Arizona has been playing really good football lately. They've hung in a lot of games and they're catching points against a Washington State team that I liked earlier in the year. I think they're waning a little bit. I think Arizona's playing inspired football. I took them. Louisville, NC State. I took Louisville here. I've just kind of a hunch that NC State's about to pack it in. North Carolina -21. That's because Georgia Tech may also just outright quit. No starting quarterback. Still have to make a coaching hire. They're a mess. I just will lay the 21. UCLA +2 against Southern Cal. Tennessee -22 against South Carolina. They need style points. UCLA's defense isn't terrible, and USC is banged up on that other game. Kansas State, just mentioned, aforementioned, -7.5. Good football team. Really good football team. Not a team that you really want to play. Right now, they play really good complementary football. I like them. Auburn -5.5 against Western Kentucky. They're going to continue to play hard for Cadillac. And then finally, Wake -10. I think Syracuse is about to call it a day as well. We're at the time of the year where teams will outright go through the motions. And you're just trying to identify teams that are either highly motivated and need to win or need to win with style points, say Tennessee, for example, and even TCU, for example, not wanting to create doubt. Don't go out there and beat Baylor 10-7. I mean, we got to see something here so you don't get bumped. So you're trying to find those kinds of teams. And then other teams that thought they were going to be something and they had a terrible letdown. Something happened. The player got hurt. They lost a game they shouldn't have. I think NC State kind of falls in that category right now. You can't lose to Boston College. You can't, these kinds of things. So I'm looking for the quit watch for Syracuse, the quit watch for NC State, quit watch for several of these teams and others that are still motivated, either trying to save a coach's job or get a coach hired or one of those types of motivations.
Yeah, the 2 SEC picks at the bottom half of the ledger are my favorite. Tennessee with the style points. You got South Carolina, and I'm assuming it's Vandy next week. Is that their fixed rivalry game in the final week of the season? So this is just full speed ahead, and that makes a ton of sense to me. And then the Auburn pick too. They're this time of year with interim coaches. We've seen it with Coach O and a couple of stops on the West Coast and at LSU. The tryhards. There are some teams that are trying really hard. And you're like, why are you so invested?
Yeah,
because they're trying to save a guy, or they're just inspired because somebody else is gone that they hated. They hated their guts. So some teams are actually sprinting to the finish line, even though they have no business with their record to be sprinting to the finish line. So I love Auburn for that reason too. So those are my 2 favorites.
All right. Well, there we go. Those are the picks. And hopefully we're looking at a robust 10-0 this week. I still have not had an undefeated weekend. I had the 8-2. I had 2 8-2s this year, but I've not had a 10-0 this year. And I think each of the last few years I've had a 10-0. So I've also had a 1-9. I've had a 1-9. So that's out there. Not this year. I've had some bad weeks, though. I had a 2-8 this year. I did have that. So, not going to lie. This has not been Daddy's best year on the gambling front. I have not done nearly as well this year as I did last. And as always, friends, do not gamble money you can't afford to lose. I just want to say that because more than once I got an email this year. I'm like, come on, be grown-ups out there. Be grown-ups now. I shouldn't have to tell you what to do with your money. Be grown-ups. But I don't want to feel bad, so I'm just letting you know, don't gamble money you don't have. If you can't lose that money, I don't care if it's $5, don't gamble it. I can lose that money. I've got it. Doesn't bother me. All right, there we go. That's I'm just saying that. That's the way it works.
That's that Orange Theory money.
No, I'm just saying, Everybody's got a number. I heard from a friend of the program, meaning Florida State, that Post Malone lost $600 and something thousand last week at a casino out in Vegas while they were there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the musician Post Malone.
Yeah.
Apparently, he was paid an ungodly sum to come perform there, and promptly blew $600 and some odd thousand of said sum gambling, and it was pretty cool about it. He laughed it off. Imagine being that kind of rich.
Yeah. Was it on the tables? I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Because
I think that's one of the great things.
Nobody would know if it was sports betting.
Right. Yeah. I think it's hilarious. Vegas is one of those rare places where professional athletes, musicians, actors, dignitaries, they can go to Vegas and sit down next to like Larry playing poker, and Larry won't be a jerk about it. Oh, hey, Post Malone, how are you? All right, you gonna hit that? All right, there we go. All right, good. You got to, right? Yeah. You see, he's got a bust hand. Don't be careful. Yeah. So like, it's great. That interaction happens all the time with people just walk into a casino. They're like, they're not gonna bother me. Pretty cool.
That was in New Orleans on that Friday night. That was me on the blackjack table. Not that I was Post Malone, just talking to random people who I think were big money boosters for Florida State. And I look at them like, what should I do? And they're like, do this. I'm like, all right. And then there was one time, this one guy, he said, make sure you hit there. I go, no, I'm not. I'll stay. And then I hit, and the rest of the table got screwed. They hated me for about 5 minutes, but then that's the fun of it.
Yeah. You got to know when you have to wear one for the table. That is part of it.
So, well, it was the dealer. I hated that dealer. It's like, you remember that? The guy was like, and 10 and 15. And you're just like, all right, man, just this guy was the pits. And the Harris should never have the pits of the world in the pits.
No. You want to have great dealers who have a lot of fun with you and interact. And actually, most dealers that I've ever encountered, the good ones, they actually help the people betting. They help the gamblers. They'll be like, yeah, listen, man, you're going to want to hit that. You're going to want to, they offer it up. And then they tell you why if you ask them. So, like, I don't work for Vegas, but if you ever go out there and you're a novice and you're worried that you're not going to know what to do, find a cheap table, a $5 blackjack table, and sit down and talk to the guy or a woman and say, I don't know what I'm doing. They'll help you. They do. They'll teach you how to play the game. Yeah. Chef Cameron Show 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. It is always good to see you, Eddie. Had a long day, my man. I was thinking about it. Gordo's was the place to ease the pain. You're frustrated with your job. You're aggravated. Life's beating you down. Maybe your wife's speaking. You got to get out the door.
You know what? Here at Gordo's, man, we welcome everybody. Disgruntled wives, disgruntled husbands, kids running away from home. We'll even give that kid a job. Send them our way.
Go make some money and eat delicious food at Gordo's. It's perfect.
And have a damn good time doing it.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
You were always more than my mom. You were my role model, my best friend, and biggest supporter. You filled my days with unconditional love. And you also prepared for the day when you couldn't be here. Because of the woman you were back then, I'm able to be the woman I am now. Your planning made this moment possible.
Set your family up for life. Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance. Your friends for life.
This is Andy Cohen. When I was a law enforcement officer, I devoted my life to a career of service and protection. Who's protecting you? Give me a call. 850-671-FARM. That's 671-FARM. Helping you is what we do best.
Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance Company, Jackson, Mississippi. Not licensed to do business in all 50 states.
Hey, this is Greg Tish. Here's something you might know about me. I don't drink coffee. I have never had a cup of coffee in my life. Well, that is until now. So why change now? Well, it's because my dear friend at Grassroots Coffee reached out to me after hearing me say that and insisted that I give his product a try. I've been making a huge mistake. The world of coffee is fascinating. I always thought coffee is coffee, no, it's not. I have tried their coffee and it is fantastic. Now, I've got a fascination with learning more about the best coffee in our area. Grassroots coffee is locally roasted, locally owned, and locally loved. You can find whole bean grassroots coffee on the local aisle at Publix, also in Whole Foods. But the best way to get this black gold is to order it online. They literally grind the fresh roasted beans to your preferred level, bag it, write the date on it by hand so you know the exact day your coffee was roasted. It doesn't get any more fresh than that. Order yours now. Just go to grassrootscoffee.com and choose the coffee you want and how you want it. And join me. Let's step up our coffee game together and also support a great local business.
If you're like most Americans, you can see things are out of control. Global problems have local consequences, too many of them. And if the next news headline spins us into chaos, you better be ready. Grocery store supply chains are only as strong as their weakest link. Don't wait for them to break. Today's the day to secure emergency food for everyone in your family. My Patriot Supply is America's largest preparedness company. Our specially packaged and delicious food stays fresh for up to 25 years in storage. It'll be there when you need it. Go to mypatriotsupply.com and pick up several emergency food kits. There are a dozen different sizes that average over 2,000 calories per day. As we all know, calories equals energy equals survival. And as you'd expect from a true preparedness company, our food kits are in stock and ship quickly. Those who know what's coming are preparing today. Go to mypatriotsupply.com. mypatriotsupply.com.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Welcome back to the Jeff Cameron Show, sponsored by Legendary Home Loans, a mortgage experience designed around speed, simplicity, and customer service. Before you buy your next home, contact our friend Shannon Young with Legendary Home Loans. Visit FSUHomeLoans.com. FSUHomeLoans.com.
Begin this segment with a weird question to you, Tom. There's an article in The Athletic today I will direct your attention towards. It's entitled, "Is the Slap Shot Dying?" I thought you could enlighten me. I didn't read the article. I just saw it.
Okay. So not reading the article, I think it's one of the least efficient plays for a defenseman to make it the point, because block shots have gone from a badge of honor for only the toughest of players. Maybe
the commonplace by everybody.
Yeah. I mean, it happens all the time. The block shot counts in games exceed sometimes the shot on goal total themselves. It's ridiculous. And that leads to odd man rushes going the other way. But it'll never go away in the one-timer game. That would be dumb. So
the second part of that is why players are abandoning hockey's signature offensive weapon. Dun, 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 dun. So just thought you'd want to read that.
The last thing I'll say, I know people would rather me go on for 10 minutes about this, but I'll keep it short, is that back in the day, when you see those highlights in your brain, you old timers of the slap shot, goalies were wearing like 5 pounds of padding. Now they're these big Michelin men in net, and you can't get it by them. You're better off deking and making moves precise.
Yeah, and they were also little dudes. Now they're big dudes on top of the padding. Yeah.
They were like second baseman in baseball. That's how goalies were built. And now they're 6'5" and wingspans of a power forward.
So there's a new book out. I was talking to you about this. This is a sports book. It's about boxing, and the author Silver it makes the case that boxing is the only sport that he's aware of where he thinks he can make, and he sets about the process of doing it, a case that the boxers of yesteryear are better than the boxers of today. And that in no sport and no other sport is that true. That baseball players of the 1920s are not better than baseball players today. Football players of the 1920s are not better than football players today. Basketball on down the line, nobody's better in 1932 in that sport than somebody in 2022. Bigger, stronger, faster, evolution, end of story. But that in boxing, because there are weight classes, so 140 would be fighting 140, 180 would be fighting 180. You're not going to have this crazy disparity in size the way you would an offensive lineman in 1957 being 6'1", 260 pounds, as opposed to 6'6", 350 these days, like that. I remember the Hogs of the Washington Redskins, as they were known at that time, were the first 300-pound line across. I remember when that happened. That was a thing in my lifetime. Nowadays, there aren't too many Power 5 conference teams in college football that don't have 300-pound plus players across the board on the offensive line. It's crazy. But that boxing, that wouldn't hold true. And that because the sport lost its long-time savvy career trainers, Customato, all these guys, right? Ferdy Pacheco, these guys that were in the boxing game for 60 years. They were in the corner of Jack Dempsey and then Muhammad Ali. All these different, that knowledge is going away. There aren't enough of those guys out there anymore. The wise elders that taught it and passed it on down. And that technique is going away in favor of flash, and not enough boxers defend themselves the way they used to defend. They'd rather take a punch than throw a punch now. That used to be a different deal. And it's a fascinating book. It's worth your time. And I'm just starting it now, and I've gotten into it's really good. But it is really kind of cool to think when you're talking about hockey and how the game has changed, the sport has changed. I like this discussion, period. I like having the larger discussion of what players from back, and it's always been understood that there are outliers of every generation. There are transcendent players of any generation that I think you could make a good argument would be starters or plus players in today's game, no matter the sport. You could do it with a pitcher from 1930. You could do it with, I'm sure, a hitter, a football player, a basketball player. You could do it. You can find that guy that was so transcendently good for their era that you might be able to make the case.
Yeah, a couple names that come off the top of the head in baseball: Clemente, Nolan Ryan.
If
fastball is accurate at what they projected his actual velocity to be by today's standards, and the propensity in this era to strike out anyway, the numbers that guy would have put up would be astronomical.
And they're already astronomical. They're already unbelievable.
But they would be untouchable, the likes of which I don't even know. Pick your ultimate sports stat that will never be touched. In golf, I think Nicklaus and Johnny Miller would have been absurd with technology today, with the distance plus control that those two had, with weird grooves and a golf ball that looked like the Caddyshack logo rather than the performance that they had today. And then in general, you could make that argument. Jim Brown, of course, Walter Payton. But with today's modern training, those guys, it would just be amazing what sports science combined with those body types from yesteryear could do together in the modern era. It'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, it would be really cool. And one of the things, I was looking at a number here. It's on my phone. I was texting this to somebody when I was talking about this book, and it blew me away. I can't find the number right now. But I will say, to your point, human physiology hasn't changed that much. The techniques, the equipment, the nutrition, the training methods have all changed dramatically. So you have to find a guy who physiologically could have competed, right? So if you're going back and by the way, it hurts my feelings that you reference Walter Payton as the old guy that could play today, since I watched his entire career. But why don't we go back to the 50s, Tom, please? Can we not go back to the 80s? Walter Payton played in the 80s and 90s. Can we not? Anyhow, so I'll just say this. Next thing you're going to go, I don't know. Maybe a guy like Emmitt Smith could still, come on. So you would have to find a Jim Brown who was a freak, or a Jim Thorpe who was considered to be one of the greatest athletes in the history of humanity, right? He could do everything. Somebody who was Listen, I will say this. I know he played before integration, and I understand the game has changed dramatically. He also played before the slider was invented. I have a suspicion Babe Ruth would make it in the majors today. If you go look at those numbers, he was so preternaturally great. He once hit more home runs in a single season than entire teams did in the American League. He was also an all-world pitcher that had an ERA under 1 in the postseason and over 31 career innings. He also had a 27 innings scoreless streak and dominated in the World Series. So there's a guy that I have a suspicion at 6'3", 200 and whatever he was, a giant for his day, would have adapted, would have figured it out.
Whose bat was ridiculous. Could you imagine him with a light bat? When we went to Fenway for that tour, the thing, it's just a rod. It's just a rod.
It was just a fence post.
Yes, it looks like something you would use in construction. It doesn't look like something you would use to hit a baseball with. There was no sawed down, thinned out handle. It was just as thick as it was in the sweet spot. That's what it was in the handle of the bat. And there was no knob at the bottom.
I don't know how he swung it, man. I mean, when you look at the weight of it, the size of it, like he got it through quick too. You look at it, you're like, good God, he swung the hell out of that thing. And it's monstrous.
Yeah, it is. Imagine him with, the technology of today. Let him go to Rosenblatt or the TD in college and let him go play in the College World Series. That ballpark wouldn't hold him. Oh, no.
Just let him. Yeah, let him. I mean, listen, give him a maple bat with like a pencil thin handle that doesn't break, oh my goodness. Yeah, the bat speed he would have had. But, that's a fun discussion, but it is a rare discussion to have when you say, not only am I making the case that this guy could have competed in this era, because there are guys, Bullet Bob Hayes, he could have competed. He ran a 4.2 40. He would have competed in this day and age. Those kinds of guys. But it's a rare case to make when you say that the entire sport was better 60 years ago than it is currently. Like, that is crazy to think about. And you may not agree with it, but he makes a really compelling case. And he brings in a bevy of current boxers, old boxers, trainers, people from the world of boxing, that have. Bert Sugar wrote extensively about this at one point. He quotes Bert Sugar's many, many, many years of expertise covering boxing. And by the way, I miss Bert Sugar. Did I ever say that before on the air? I miss Bert Sugar. I like the world knowing that Bert Sugar was in it better. I just thought he was the quintessential awesome reporter of all time. Bert freaking Sugar. Every time you saw him, you're like, that's a newspaper man. Look at him. That's a newspaper man. Had his cigar and his cool cap.
Man, he's drunk by 10 in the morning. He's got to write 700 words. No big deal. He's not going to do it. What's deadline? 6? I'll start at 5:30 and I'll phone it on over.
But not just that, Tom. Those are going to be the best 700 words ever put to paper.
Right.
That's the thing. It's like
he wouldn't type it. He'd call it in and make some punk. He'd like, type it in.
And he would just wax poetically for 30 minutes, so that poor kid would be typing away. And Bert's like, there it is. There's your column. And then you would go and read it the next morning, and you'd be like, my God, Bert did it again. That is fantastic. Old Bert Sugar still out here kicking ass.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, he must have been out with Summerall last night. He always goes to another level when him and Pat go out together.
It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. We'll solve for the future next with my friends at ISF.
WIC provides commercial, residential, and industrial electrical wiring services, yearly inspections on fire alarms, portable generator sales, and so much more. With 24/7 emergency service and repair, Weston Trawick will be your calm in the storm. Give them a call at 514-0003. Weston Trawick. Professional electrical services day or night. Visit online at westontrawick.com.
Hey, fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit beefy, or even with type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Affordable term life insurance is out there. Call Term Provider and speak with Big Lou at 800-481-1458. 800-481-1458 or visit biglou.com. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too.
Have you wanted to speak a new language but thought it'd be too difficult or take too much time? Then try Babbel. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel teaches you conversations that you will actually use. With 14 languages and lesson topics like travel, business, relationships, and more, you'll learn what matters most to you. Babbel. Language for life. Learn a new language with ease. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com.
Every great construction project, whether it's a new addition or renovation, starts with a plan. At T-Spark, we are excited when our clients contact us to assist with that plan. Through our team of architects, draftsmen, engineers, we can help you with your project's planning and design, potentially saving costs in the long run. Whether you have a residential or commercial project, we look forward to working with you. Call us today or visit us at tsparkconstruction.com. License number CGC 1525336.
Crawfordville Auto and Tire. Crawfordville Auto and Tire. Oh, hey there. I was just singing the praises of Crawfordville Auto and Tire. They do just about everything. Complete engine rebuilds, brakes, shocks, tires, oil change, you name it, they do it. And they offer a 12-month, 12,000-mile warranty on all parts and labor. Most of the time, they can service your car the same day and offer towing to help you get to the shop. Now that's something to sing about. Open weekdays from 7:30 in the morning until 6 at night. Crawfordville Auto Repair and Tires.
Time to solve for the future with my great partners at ISF. You guys know about ISF. I've talked about them at length and for good reason. They know you want to do amazing things and you have grandiose visions and goals for the future, and you work hard to try to move your agency forward while navigating very unique challenges that are inherent to government operations. ISF is an IT strategy firm, and they'll help you out. They've been doing it for over 40 years. They've served state government and business clients all across the country, not just here in Tallahassee, but all across the country. They've had well over 80 unique clients. They've served on over 1,500 projects. I've mentioned before that they're very collaborative. If you're in this world, then you know of which I speak, and you want somebody to come in, not just tell you what to do, but work with you, hear your ideas out, and just streamline the process and make it easier for you to get it done. And that's what ISF does. So we want to thank them, and their partnership has been very rewarding. I love talking to Jonathan and learning more about how they work. I'm always fascinated by that. But they have been collaborative with us as well. Solving for the future lately has been a lot of fun because we've been able to kind of project, Tom, areas of real significant growth that would help Florida State win football games. We've pondered some big picture questions about Florida State, but they're all centered right now around what will it take for Florida State to be great? You know, and I this is such a much better and, you know, I think uplifting question to ponder and discuss because it presupposes they're good. And that is really nice to do. We have not been able to do that in a very long time. So I do presuppose they're good. They are good, period. They're a good football team. You know it. I know it. And the most extreme doubter on the planet at this point knows it as well. Florida State's good. They might argue to what degree of good. We might argue, are the numbers believable? Because I think there's some phony numbers out there. I know what the numbers are. The numbers are the numbers. They were amassed legitimately, but I don't think they're a great representative in all cases of what the team is, let's say. But I think they're very good. I do. And I think we can now ask the question, what will it take for them to be great?
Yeah, I think that just begins, and this is fun. It matches the holiday season because it's almost like a shopping list needs to be put together. About
let's do it right now. Let's do it like ISF. Let's solve the future. What do we have to do? What does Florida State have to do? I still slip with the we all the time. What has to happen for Florida State to be great?
That's we, man. Coaches come and go, players come and go, but we'll always be there supporting the team, and our career will come and go. But when it's over, we'll still. I'll go to Doak, and you'll go to Doak. We'll say, "Oh, remember when we covered this group? This is Okay, so how about we go item for item?
Okay,
so I'll raise an item, and sometimes I want to go in order of importance. I'll just say a thing. We need a dynamic kick returner. That's one thing we need to be great.
Okay.
So I'm going with the small. I'm going to give you the softball. I'm going to take a tough one because Trey Benson can't be your guy next year returning kicks, and Sam McCall certainly can't be your guy next year returning kicks. So I don't know if that means Winston Wright is healthy. That's something that he specialized in before he got to campus, and he was going to be Florida State's kick returner. Maybe he gets up to full speed for next season, and he's your guy. Could it be Hakeem Williams or another one of the maybe Rodney Hill, because they won't be concerned about a red shirt, but they need to upgrade at that particular position so that if we do return it inside of our 5, it's actually a smart thing to do and not a ridiculous thing to do.
I'll expound a little bit on that notion. You're saying Benson can't be because he's too valuable as a running back, not because he can't, because he's a good kick returner.
No, if he comes back next year, if you're on the path to being great, if he's going to go down for any reason, it's because he's running the football, not returning kicks.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. And the other reason that you would bring it up is the right one. You can't have McCall return kicks, period. He's just terrible at it. I don't know why they ever thought he'd be good at it. For whatever reason, I've never seen him return a kick with any amount of gusto ever. So you would have gotten 2 tries out of me. Coach Cameron would be like, all right, let's see what you got. The second time you jogged would be the last. We're not doing this anymore. That's it. All right, I'm with you there. So I won't go big ticket item here since you started way down at the bottom with just kick returner. I kind of like that.
Very small thing on the wish list. But yeah.
This is going to take a significant leap up, but not all the way to the top. They need another dynamic recruiter of the high school ranks. They have got to get somebody that is an elite recruiter in the high school ranks on this staff. You have a very good one in Atkins. I think Norvell holds his own. He's not great. But you don't have really anybody else who's kicking ass and taking names and recruiting on this staff. You just don't. They need to get one.
I agree. The one thing I'd say is, this might be like driving a boat versus driving an all-wheel car or a SUV like you have, in that they had so much crap stacked up against them, some of their own doing,
right,
that I think the 2024 recruiting class will be a better indicator of who's good and who's not. Because if you're not good next year with the 2024 class, now that you're working off of hopefully a 9 or a 10 win campaign here, then you're not good at your job, period. I am willing to pause a little bit on some of these position coaches or coordinators because of the COVID year, the lack of relationships established, lack of history in the state of Florida, and then 2021's disastrous campaign in the loss to Jacksonville State. Does this year allow for a more fair playing field in the recruiting world? I agree with you that you need one ace. You need one ace. Yeah. But I don't want to blanket statement say that none of these guys can get it done, because I believe they're now working with real momentum for the first time in their tenure here at Florida State. Some of that was their doing, and some of that was absolutely out of their control.
Well, and the reason somebody might say fairly, why do you need, this isn't 5 years ago, this isn't 10 years ago, Jeff, why do you have to have an elite recruiter, a guy who is just really good? Jimbo is an elite recruiter, for example. Like, somebody might say, why do you need that in the era of NIL? You really don't. You need to have money. That's what you need to have. That's not completely true. You give money to the guys that you establish relationships with.
Right.
And it is paramount that you have somebody boots on the ground at these high schools talking to these coaches and kids to gain access to relationship building. once you build the relationship with the kid, yeah, you're going to have to pay him if he's really good because somebody else is going to offer him money. Somebody else who's built a relationship with the kid. So that has to happen. And I don't know that there's a dynamic one of those on our staff currently. I think we got a guy who's really good at it at his position. And then I think we got a whole lot of average to below average. Some of them are outright bad.
I agree. And even Atkins this year, I mean, we'll see how they close. But it hasn't been a home run where you're saying in this cycle, oh my God, there's 5 more coming in. You know, they're doing okay. If they close Simmons, that'd be a big thing for them. But you're right. I've come full circle no, I have not. I've gone 100.
Done a 180?
I've done a 180 on this. I thought that it would be more important to keep developers where they are as coaches and then just go spend the cash. But guess what you get to do if you've got a good recruiter? Spend less cash.
Correct.
Because Miami right now, for example, is having to pay a premium to retain the kids that have already said yes because they're not showing it on the field. And there's also debate about how good they are as recruiters in general. So you got to pay more if you're not as good of a recruiter. And when you've got less in the way of assets than some of the teams you're competing with, every dollar counts. So the better the recruiter, the less money you have to spend on a kid that you form a relationship with because you have formed a relationship with them. So that's why I'm doing the 180 on that.
All right. So you get to propose the next one.
The
question is, this is for our solving for the future, for those just jumping in. Tom and I are solving for the future. And the question is, what will it take for Florida State to be great?
At least one more, and probably 2, but at least one more bona fide badass in the interior of the offensive line. Maurice Smith is a great story this season. In camp, we all were waiting for Caden Lyles to take over that job. He goes down for the year. Maurice's status for LSU was up in the air. He basically hasn't come off the field since. And that's been huge for an offensive line that hasn't been the healthiest this season. So it's been a good story. But you need at least another guard or another center, interior offensive lineman, probably 2, to get to a place where when it's 3rd and 2 or 3rd and goal from the 2, you can run the ball up the middle and it doesn't take a Herculean effort by a running back to get there to pay dirt. If you want to be great, you've got to be able to do that. And Florida State just can't right now. So as good as the offensive line has been this year and as high-flying and explosive as this offense is, and that's worth putting on a pedestal, they still lack the ability to be great insofar as if you're going against the best defensive lines in the country and everybody in the world knows you're running straight ahead, they can't do it yet. So to be great, they need better offensive line play.
Last one, because we're limited by time. Obviously, there's going to be a confluence of several things that have to come together for Florida State to be great. Some of it's personnel related. You used offensive line right there. I would argue they need to go out and get an elite quarterback. Jordan Travis ain't going to be here forever, and I don't think they have an elite quarterback on the roster. So I would go find one. But that's an aside. That's just another thing that I would throw out there. And then from there, the last answer and the most important answer eventually gets to money. They just need more money for the collective to utilize in asset retention and acquisition. You're going to need more of it. That ain't going away. We're stuck in the wrong conference to have this full-scale war on our hands trying to compete in the world of recruiting. We're going to be operating at a deficiency. So that is the final answer, is a lot more money for the collective to be able to continue to compete.
All right. Now just go erase it. Go make it happen. Everybody go.
We should just stay right here, Tom. We'll just stay right here. We got 5 minutes left in the show. I'm not breaking. We're going to let the people stay here.
All right.
We're going to let the people stay here.
I've got a little segue animation for you then.
Are you going to? Oh, well, so hold on. Don't do it yet. I wanted to pull something up here that I found out yesterday about my friends at Tallulah. Go ahead. Now you can do it.
Oh man. See, that was the segue. The segue was from
That's
what I was talking about.
That's my man.
There you go. It's the touchdown runner. And then there it is. Look at that. See, it's clean.
Happiest animal on planet Earth is that otter. He's like, I'm just having a good day, guys. It's beautiful out here. Look at the way I float. Look at the way I float, everybody. I float better than you. It's just
That's me. Every time I saw a counter, I saw everybody pulling against Miami. I'm just like, that could be.
Yeah, there we go. Could be,
Touchdown.
yeah.
Could be.
Hey, did we cover last night?
One of the two.
One of the two. We got one of the two.
So Edmonton had a hard luck loss. It was 3-1, but it was a hard luck loss. And then the other game I said was betting with the streak. Ottawa over Buffalo.
Yep.
Ottawa covered and then some. They won by 3 goals. So
You're damn right they did. So 1-1 last night. Find another hockey game while I tell everybody about my friends at Tallulah, because here you go. Get this, everybody. Tallulah now has a store, a huge store in Thomasville, Georgia, like right next to Thomasville, Georgia. So if you're listening to this there, near there or there, go see them. They got all kinds of good stuff. They've got a new kava bar. That kava's and those kratom drinks as well. Those are delicious, delicious. They've got a new one in Bannerman Crossing. That is their second location in Bannerman Crossings. A beautiful space, lots of kava, lots of kratom drinks, really tasty. They've got the former Sodo location in Midtown. That opens coming up on Monday. Huge amounts of mushrooms and vape selection, all that good stuff. Get that? They sell CBD for pets as well, Tom. You can help out your nervous pet. They got anxiety when you leave. They don't like the sound of thunder. The neighbor pisses them off. Drop a little CBD on them. You're all good. They're good. It's perfect. So, and it's healthy. It's okay. You can do it. So my friends at Tallulah, they're everywhere these days. They're opening up stores left and right. I should have invested large sums of money in Tallulah. They are getting to be huge.
So with that said, here's a huge play for you tonight.
I like it.
I will go, and don't play it big. I'm just saying the payout is good.
Oh, bet all of it, guys.
Oh, no. Didn't we just get done talking about responsibility?
Yeah,
the Lightning minus a goal and a half are a plus 196 provision. Here's why I like them in this spot. They're going against Calgary. The goaltending for Calgary has been sorry this year. Jacob Markstrom is their starter. He gives up over 3 goals a game. The watermark for a good save percentage for a goalie is around 91%, 910 save percentage. He's at 886. Been an awful start, and that's their starting goalie. So now Tampa played their backup on Tuesday. The big guy, the big cat, Andrei Vasilevsky in goal for the Lightning tonight. This all points to what I believe to be at least a 2-goal victory for Tampa. But here's the crazy part. It's plus 196. The value is off the charts. So Lightning minus a goal and a half, plus 196 tonight.
I love the process, Tom. Even if it doesn't cash, that's the right process. If your process is right, eventually you're coming out on the right side more than you're not. So just hang in there with that process. That's good work out of you. All right, that's it. That's all for T. Lizzie and me. We'll be back with you tomorrow. Same setup. These are the 2 days they're using to change the inside of the studio. So we're going to be in here the next 2 days at least.
Oh yeah, I was going to say hopefully the last 2 days. Okay, see, you're the better liaison about this stuff than I am. So
yeah, I know it's today and tomorrow. So we're definitely back here tomorrow, and I'll have the candle ready to go on a Friday edition of the show. So we'll get after it.
Also, Wake Up Warchant tonight on Warchant TV. Be sure to tune in. I am confirming the time right now, but it is 6 o'clock tonight. 6 o'clock live on Warchant TV.
Perfect. All right. Until tomorrow, be well, everybody. We love you, and we'll talk to you on a Libations Friday. That'll be fun. Enjoy the football, everybody.